Good afternoon, all of you beautiful YouTube Tarkovians. My name is Onepeg, and this is another afternoon edition of the Newsy News. For those of you relatively new to the channel or my content, if you end up enjoying what you see here, I would ask that you please consider subscribing to the channel because we do this kind of stuff all the time. So really recently, within the last couple of days, there was a patch that BSG put out kind of out of nowhere, and it added some nice new changes to things mechanically that we really had wanted to see done. The largest of which was one in which I think, reported on about 2, maybe 3 years ago, where if you were jumping from one surface to another, you would hear the footstep sounds from a third party, right? So if I was watching somebody else jump off of a surface, I would be able to hear that person jump and land. However, if they walked off of a ledge and just kind of fell to the next surface below it without any regard for how far away that was, you wouldn't hear it at all. There was no sound that got made, even if they broke their legs. The only way that you would actually hear anything is if they died, and then you would hear the death sound. All of those sounds from falling from one surface down to another one were completely first person. You never heard it outside. Now you do. And we've tested it many, many times. There's many streams that have done it. I can say with confidence that they've actually fixed this one. We finally have third-party sounds when dropping from one ledge to another. So that was a good one. However, there were some hidden changes in here, specifically related to strength and the environment. First up, we have the strength change. And I'm just going to switch the screen so that we're in raid, and I can show you a couple of things that have been modified. Okay, so here we are in an offline raid. I'm just really quickly going to get to somewhere that I can kind of jump up on and show you kind of what has changed. So the first thing that seems to have been modified is the ability for a PMC to jump, just in general, has been somewhat reduced. You just don't get to jump as high enough as you used to. There are people that are saying anywhere between 5% and 20%. But the point really is that you're just not able to jump as high as you used to be able to jump, even with max strength. Now, for people just starting out, that might be a problem. But for the rest of us, you know, we probably should be able to get by. So I'm just going to walk up to this ledge right here and try and see if I can jump up. Now, we know that from the front, this has always been an issue. Since BSG changed this forever ago, you used to be able to kind of just jump forward and then you would skate up, like your feet wouldn't catch, and then the fronts of your feet started catching when they changed it several patches ago. But then the other trick was you would walk backwards into it and then jump. And it would let you kind of jump up onto that surface because your heels didn't have that same level of catch, where you would try jumping sideways to get up onto that higher ledge. Now that doesn't work anymore. Really, the point here is we can hear the rain in the background, but the point here is that now all sides of your feet will catch these ledges that are kind of just out of reach and will prevent you from being able to jump on top of them. Now, what that also means is that for people that are familiar with Superman jumping, whereas there's an incline, kind of like a steep incline to allow you to skate up the side of an incline, the ability to do that skirting is no longer as possible as it once was. You can still do the Superman, but you're just not going to have as easy of a time with it as you once did. Between the combination of these two things, it makes it incredibly difficult in some places to be able to get up to elevated areas that you once could get to, either through shortcuts or the ability to jump up onto higher elevated spots in woods. There are certain places that just aren't as possible anymore, and in certain few circumstances are impossible. Now, there is one other mechanic with strength, well, really something that they changed with movement in general that I think deserves to be shown, because this movement was more popularized by Willers, and it's something that we really can't get away with doing anymore. So if you ever watched one of Willers' clips, you would see him commonly get up to the edge of a ledge like this, and then he would kind of do this rock step where he would kind of try to propel himself forward. And the reason why is this initial forward movement used to give you like a little bit of a boost of speed whenever you would hit shift or whatever your sprint button is off of the go. You know, I'm hitting S and then W right away to change directions. It used to be that you could hit shift and then you would sprint forward right away off of this back step. But you're not able to do that anymore. So if I go like this and then hit sprint to run forward, notice nothing happened. It's because when I'm hitting sprint, as soon as I hit the W key, it's not letting me do that speed boost. It's not letting me start off of the back foot like you used to be able to do when you were rocking back and forth. Instead, what you have to do, and I'll turn up the volume, you have to take a step forward first, and then it'll let you sprint. So step back, and see now that I took a step forward, one step, and then I can sprint. But if I try to do it right away, it won't let me. That's mainly the biggest difference, is there's just like that little, like 300 ms maybe delay to allow you to do the sprint right away. It just won't let you do that rock step anymore. There was also one other interesting change that I figured deserved really to get looked at, and that has to do with the colorization of the game, even just in vanilla settings. There were some modifications that were done. So this is the same exact settings that I would have played the game at a couple of weeks back, maybe around Valentine's Day, before they ended up adding this patch. Now, this stealth patch ended up changing a couple of things. It made the grass and the world environment around us a little bit more saturated than what it used to be. So, like, this is an offline raid right now as it sits in front of us, and there's no post effects on at all, right? This is just how the game looks. But if we compare this to a clip that I took from the 12th, it's vastly different. So you can kind of see the difference here. See how much darker the grass is kind of on the bottom, just looking from this image here to the, I guess, in-game raid below it. You can see that there is definitely a colorization difference between this and this down here below. The other thing that is noticeable here is that there's noticeably darker shadows and noticeably more haze on the screen, almost as if they added like a little bit more of a darkness filter to the overall experience of the game. Basically, they took the game and they made it a little bit darker and a little bit more color saturated, which is a complaint that people have had, has been color saturation, but maybe not necessarily shadow depth. In this case, it seems like they're trying to get the game to feel and look a little bit more shadowy, which also unfortunately means that interchange is starting not to look as good as it used to when it was already kind of in a rough spot. There wasn't as much visibility in interchange, and now it seems like it's a little bit worse. But what I've gone ahead and done is made up some post-effect settings that I think work pretty well. So in this case, if we turn on what I've got for post-effects, this is basically what I'm rolling with right now. So brightness 30, saturation 0, clarity 50, colorfulness I turned down to 8. You could even go so far as just to turn it off if you didn't really want it there, but I do have in like a little bit of saturation here. Luma sharpen at 50, and then I use the Jason color grade with intensity 4, and Tritonopia I put at intensity 15. It's really not doing all that much, but I found that it does take a little bit of an edge off of some of the colors. And this is really what we're left with. So I think that this works good. Other people obviously will have some different opinions, but in my gameplay, I've seen that it takes a little bit of this haze off of the edges of some of the cliff faces, removes some of the haze at distance so that you can see a little bit more clearly. Not that PMC models tend to stand out any different, but I have had a little bit easier of a time with some target acquisition stuff, and it feels like it plays well. So by all means, you guys can share your own settings if that's what you want to do. Far be it for me to tell you how to play the game, but that's what I feel like works, at least for me. And now that I have a computer that can handle the frame rate, it seems to be helpful there. So yeah, guys, thank you for coming by. I hope all of you are staying safe, especially if you're somebody in Russia or Ukraine right now. It's a really rough time. I hope and pray, although I'm not much of a prayer, that everyone stays safe and you guys stay out of harm's way as best you can. It's difficult right now. So try to keep your chin up. Know that I'm pulling for you. Not that that does much, but I would like to see everybody make it out of this okay. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. Peace.